For me, it was the first night of the jump show I've done, and it was super sick. Like really feeling like a proper rock star standing in the middle of the stadium and having the crowd all around us. The noise they're doing is motivating us and was so sick. Also seeing freestyle motocross again. I think the last time I saw it was in 2018 or something. And now I realized again that they are freaking maniacs.
Hi, and welcome to the Riders Lounge podcast. I'm your host for this series, Steve Sommerfeld, and this is just kind of a recap, actually, from the Night of the Jumps Freestyle of Nations competition, which was held in Basel a couple of weeks ago. It's been incredibly busy after the event, almost as much as it was before. We had a lot of projects all happening in September. There was a lot of planning going on, and I guess you could probably say we're a little bit rusty. It's been 18 months. And just sitting there thinking, do I need to organise this and that? And I would say, on a personal level, the only thing I forgot was putting Edgar's name down on the shuttle list. I did get his flights. I just forgot to put his name on the shuttle. And about half an hour before he landed in the Basel airport, I'm like, oh, all right, better jump in the van, go pick him up. So, if that was the only thing I forgot after 18 months, sitting on my thumb doing nothing, pretty much, I'd say that was a win. But this episode, it's a little bit of a wrap up of that event, but also looking at the positives of events slowly coming back. It looks like we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's not a bad feeling. And it was actually really cool to just see all of the guys who came to Basel, all of the riders, all of the crew, from the technical sort of staff, the TV guys, the catering. Well, of course, the catering. You'd love to see those guys again. But everybody involved in putting on just one event. There could be up to 60, 80 staff. And all of those people have kind of been left in the lurch for the last, 18 months or so. And this was one event. We don't have any more planned for this year, 2021. But there are a couple actually quietly coming into the pipeline. So let's see. Maybe that changes. But it is nice that everybody can start to see that light at the end of the tunnel. Now, before we get into the kind of the wrap up of the event, and to talk about everything that went in and around that as well, with the riders coming back and just seeing how excited they were, I did actually get to do that Roadhouse tour that I mentioned in the last episode. Between my house, where I live in Germany, and the St. Jakobshalle in Basel, it's actually quite handy that the Roadhouse Brewery is about an hour away and pretty much on the direct line there. So I finally, after 18 months of doing this podcast, the Riders Lounge podcast, and Roadhouse have supported this before we even started it, I finally got to meet Mathieu and the team there in the Black Forest region of Germany, and doing the special super duper VIP brewery tour. Well, as you can imagine, I was pretty pumped that day. It was freaking awesome, going into the bowels of the entire brewery and checking out everything from start to finish. Basically, it was huge. I was actually surprised at how big it was. So if you're ever in Germany, make sure you get to the Rothaus Brewery in the Black Forest region. It's better than doing all the natural nature walks and bike riding and whatever else. Nah, forget it. Just go do a brewery tour. That's 10 out of 10. So no, thank you so much to those guys for letting me come along, and also for picking up a whole bunch more beer. I turned up with an empty van, and you can be assured I left with a full one. And I think I've got a new favourite, the Ice Zepfler. That was awesome. But no, we're definitely still always going to carry on with the alcohol-free beers. They are still... I was actually quite surprised. There was a few different versions of them. Some that I hadn't tried before. So thank you very much. Anyway, getting into the Basel event around freestyle motocross, of course, I actually then ventured from Roadhouse down to Motorex because Mark Pinyol has actually been living in Switzerland, who was riding for Team Spain, but he has been living in Switzerland doing the Circus Knie shows. And if you guys haven't seen those circus shows, I'm sure you probably have. If you're listening to this podcast, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, Pignol, he's been doing those because there's pretty much been nothing else to do. And he was just lucky that Switzerland was able to have those shows going for the last few months. And I met him at the Motorex factory, which was also quite cool for me personally, since I've also been supported by Motorex from A1 Accessories in Australia for, I don't know, maybe 12 years. So it's crazy. I've lived in Europe for 7 years, almost 8, and I never got to the factory, and I finally got there, and it was just to do an interview with Pignol. So you may have seen some snippets of that with the video, and it was awesome to meet those guys as well. The most important thing for me, however, was talking with the chemists and understanding a little bit more about the oils, specifically for the KTM 2-stroke for me. But yeah, if you're in Switzerland, if you come back for Basel or Zurich in Switzerland next year at Night of the Jumps, if you want to come, it's not that far away actually to get to that factory. But having a chat with Mark Pignol there, we did do a pre-event interview, and I have got a few words from Mark at the end of this episode, so I'll put them in. And but mainly it was just good to talk with him and see the motivation, or how he had to deal with that motivation, losing motivation of riding during the pandemic. And then kind of out of the blue, you've got to be ready and go for the competition. So make sure you hang around and listen to the wrap up on the end of this episode. So as we got into Basel, we had Team Germany, Team Spain, and Team France. It was the Freestyle of Nations, 3 teams battling it out, 3 freestyle riders on each team, and everything was looking quite good. Team Germany, Luke Ackermann, Hannes Ackermann, Kai Haase. I mean, the three Germans. Pretty much that's it, I think. There are a couple more, but they're definitely the 3 main guys who are in the big events and competing all year round. Team Spain, Mark Pignol, Edgar Torrenteres, Michael Malero, huge team. And France with David Ronaldo, Remy Bissois, and Maxime Gregor. So yeah, everything was looking good until, unfortunately, Hannes Ackermann for Team Germany had to pull out due to, well, an old injury. He still got complaints of this leg injury with some numbness. Well, actually, it wasn't a leg injury. It was more from the broken back, he told me, that he suffered in Munich way back in, when was that? 2016. So he's still got issues with that, and he unfortunately had to pull out. He made his way. He did get to Basel, but he did have to pull out. So that is why you will hear about Matej Čezak, and you'll be wondering why in the world a Czech rider was on the German team. That's the reason. We always do have a backup rider just in case something happens. And this time it was Matej, so he slipped in for Team Germany. And you'll find out very quickly that was the best thing Germany possibly could have had, I think. So going into the freestyle motocross runs, how it works is each rider on every team will do just one run. There's no qualifications, there's no finals. It's just one run, and then there's a few joker rounds or wild card rounds. So we've got the whip comp, the synchro, and best trick. And so you're getting to see all these different disciplines actually being tallied up for a reason to go towards points at the end of the night. And that's what we like, actually, about the Freestyle of Nations format. So in the first round, Team Spain, Mark Pignol, like I said, he's had to come out of kind of this, no motivation, but then he was doing circus shows, which is, I guess, 6 jumps a night or 10 jumps a night maximum. And then he had to go and throw it all down without any real practice. And in the end, he came out with the highest points after the first freestyle motocross runs. Pinyol in first. It was Matej Cezak for riding for Team Germany in second. He had a great run as well. And Team France, Maxime Gregor, well, I was really looking forward to his run. But unfortunately in training, he went for the flare knack. Didn't even go for a standard flare. Didn't even just try and pop off the quarter pipe to make sure it was in the right place. He just had the flip levers up and just sent the flare knack. In training, he did under rotate it. I think he had maybe, if he just had 45 degrees more on landing, it would not have been an issue. But he just kind of stopped and it tweaked his knee really bad. So he didn't get any more training. I think that was only the first round of training. That was it. He was then on ice all day, went back to the hotel on ice, came back, and he could barely walk. And he's like, no, I'm still going to go for it. So yeah, in his freestyle run, it wasn't looking great. You could tell he could barely move. He could barely do any tricks. And he still went for the flare knack in the double up. And again, it was the same issue. I guess he was a little bit nervous still on that ramp. It was the same thing. And unfortunately, it went worse this time. And he ended up fracturing his wrist. We didn't know at the time. It was only about a week later when he got home. So a huge shout out to Maxime Gregor. He's definitely one of a kind. He's such a nice dude. But he really has completely different bag of tricks. So much variety, especially on the quarter pipe. So it does suck that he took a crash and took a broken bone for his troubles. So I really hope you get well soon, mate. Then we went into the whip competition, and this one was always going to be pretty crazy, I think, because you've got Edgar Torrenteras and Mark Pinyol. Two riders from each team goes in, and we weed out the one rider from each team, and then you've got a final of the best whippers from each team, basically. So Mark Pinyol and Edgar Torrenteras, of course we know Edgar is one of the biggest names in Best Whip. He's got an X Games gold and a whole bunch of other medals from X Games in Best Whip. But Pinyol has some huge turndowns. So I thought, okay, Team Spain, this could be their wildcard round to win. Well, Matej Cezak and Kai Haase for Team Germany had something to say about it. And actually there was David Ronaldo and Remy Bissois for Team France, since Maxime was automatically out by now. But actually, it was Matej Cezak, the Czech rider drafted in for Team Germany, managed to get past Kai Haase, who has some of the biggest whips as well. And in the end, it was a crowd decision, and I completely blew it because I thought it was the judges on that one. So obviously I read the show plan wrong. But yeah, it was a crowd favourite, and Matej Cezak, the youngster, won over the legend Edgar Torrenteras and David Ronaldo. So with that, there's actually 20 bonus points in these wildcard rounds. So that actually put Germany up quite high to start off with. So at that point, I think maybe Luke and Kai were pretty happy that Matej came into their team, because it definitely helped out. Then in the second round of the runs, again, it was one rider from each team, France, Germany, Spain. So for France, Remy Bissois, he just beat out Kai Haase and Edgar Torrenteras for that one. Remy, of course, he's a 3-time world champion. He was looking pretty good. It wasn't the biggest run that we've ever seen from Remy, but it was definitely good enough to beat Kai and Edgar, picking up his 48 points and 45-41 as we go down through those names. But the cool thing about Kai Haase being only 3 points behind Remy was Kai hasn't even been training for freestyle. In the last 6 months, basically throughout, quarantine, Kai has decided to try his luck at every single, I don't know, two-wheel motorsport that he can pretty much do in, let's say motocross or dirt bikes. So he's been doing enduro, hard enduro, flat track. I think he was in the World Championships for the flat tracks. Speedway. He even did downhill mountain bikes. And he actually hadn't even ridden freestyle at all. So I think 1 week before, he jumped some ramps for one day just to kind of remember, what does 21 meters on an 8 meter radius feel like? So, yeah, it was just so crazy to see Kai come out. But that's kind of also the difference you can see in different riders. Like, that is Kai. He's, I don't know, if you think about, I think about guys like Robbie Marshall in Australia, who just has this ability to be the best motocross or supercross racer or unbelievable in freestyle. That's kind of like the Kai Haase effect there. Anyway, Edgar Torrenteras also, for an old man, he had some of the best variety actually, so that's why he got some pretty high points in that round. Then we went into the next of the wild card rounds, and that was the synchro competition. And again, this is where Germany must have been pumped to have Matej Cezak in their team. Him and Kai Haase looked, from the very first jump, they just looked the best. They didn't do the biggest tricks, but in sync, they were a cut above everybody else. Kai, he was taking the inside line, which everybody was finding really difficult because Basel is our smallest arena in, I think, the entire World Championship Series. Maybe only Riga in Latvia is smaller. So it's 70 meters long total distance. So that has to include safety barriers, the corner. But yeah, so for your run up, the ramp, 21 meter gap, the landing, and the wall at the end, there's only 70 meters. And yeah, Kai was pretty much the only one to get around that inside line and keep the speed up the same with Mate. So they won that one again. So Germany taking out the two big wildcard rounds. So that kind of really shot them a lot higher up than Team France and Team Spain. So for France, two world champions going side by side, Ronaldo and Remy. And they looked pretty good, but you could just... And they had bigger tricks. I think they had the biggest tricks out of everybody. But yeah, the two-stroke, the four-stroke, the tight run-ups, everything, it just didn't work out. And unfortunately, they were in second place. And in third, it was Michael Malero, the first time we'd seen him all night, and Mark Pinyol. So they picked up third. Again, some pretty big tricks, but just not in sync. And that's what that one's all about. Then we go into the final riders of each team for the freestyle run. And these are the big boys. We've got world champions in here. So, of course, we had Remy Biswar as a world champion in the round before. But that's where France was lucky. They had two world champions in their team. So David Ronaldo, he had a good run, but it's probably been 3-4 years since we've seen Ronaldo at Night of the Jumps, and maybe he forgot the rules, but it looked like he forgot when his double up was and just did a nice big turn up, which looked fantastic. He, like it was a wide landing and he crossed from one side from the right-hand ramp and landed on the left-hand landing. And it looked really good, but definitely not enough. If that would probably be when he should be doing like a double heart backflip or vault or Cali or whatever else. So that definitely hurt him. But then when he turned around and he was going to go for that double up, it's worth double the points, the lights were already out. Like, it was now time to celebrate the run, and Ronaldo's like, nope, I'm still jumping. So yeah, David just went and sent it, jumped in the dark, and didn't really do anything, but it was kind of funny to see Like, oh, this just didn't work out as well as he'd planned. Anyway, so Team France picked up third in that round. Michael Malero, very good run from him, but it just wasn't enough to take down Luke Ackerman. So Malero, 5 world championships in a row. He lost that 6th title to Luke Ackerman at the last world championship round, which was, funnily enough, in 2019, because we didn't get to do the world championships at all in 2020. We only had one Freestyle of Nations event. So, yeah, Malero, he was taken down by the youngster again. Luke, always exciting. Maybe not the cleanest, but with that huge 360, which everybody loved from X Games, he did that again at Night of the Jumps. And he finished with the double backflip. And again, inside the smallest arena, that probably wasn't the greatest for him. You know, there was no stopping distance at all. From the bottom of the landing to the wall was only 10 meters of distance. So, yeah, Luke, he went for the double. And I think actually he might have overcooked the first one just a little bit. And then he was just heading straight for the wall, and he managed to hit it, but he walked away fine. But yeah, Team Germany taking out the third and final of the runs before we went into the best trick comp. And in the best trick, this is where we're doing something a little bit different as well. We bring in the mountain bike riders. So the team captain from each country, they get to choose which rider they'd like to have on their team from the mountain bike show. So Team Germany, they had Nico Schulz, good German mountain bike rider. Team France, David Ronaldo, he chose David Godziek to join him, who's basically Godziek. I mean, the Godziek brothers, they're in everything. They're in the biggest mountain bike events around the world. So Godziek was a really good choice. And for Team Spain, I think actually Edgar Torrenteras was the captain. So he chose the young gun from Switzerland, who's never been at Night of the Jumps before, Lucas Huppert. And I guess the crowd was behind him because Lucas managed to get the highest points in the mountain bike best trick. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough for Team Spain, so they couldn't get any further. Michael Malero, I guess he wasn't feeling it by the end. He didn't have the biggest tricks. It was a nice big ruler flip, but we know Malero has so much more. So unfortunately, Team Spain didn't get any higher. Ronaldo threw out a huge backflip, double heart, and again, it wasn't enough. And this is where the controversy actually came in a little bit. Luke Ackerman, for Team Germany, the final jump of the night, he went for the double backflip again because it was best trick. And he actually was under rotating it, and he gave it the berries. And, well, he was heading back towards that wall that he already hit in his freestyle run. So instead of hitting the wall, he was fishtailing it and basically went into a controlled crash 7 meters after the end of the landing, and then he ended up still, hitting the wall one way or another. So in my mind, I was commentating the live stream at the time, and if you were listening to that or watching that, and you're listening to this podcast now, you'll probably remember I called that zero. Like, if that was me judging, I thought, ooh, this is going to be a tough one because he landed the trick and he crashed pretty quickly after. Do you give 0 points for the crash? Or, because we know the venue is just so damn small and he would have just absolutely smashed himself if he tried to hold on, there is an option to go like 50% of the points that you would have given. So I thought, okay, between 0 and 50%, that's probably where the judges will go. Nope, I was completely wrong. Luke took home full points, and with that, Team Germany was lucky enough with all of the other the wild card wins throughout the night. It was enough for Germany to take the win at the very first Freestyle of Nations in 2021 at Night of the Jumps. Like I said, I mean, it could go all different ways. It could have been 0 points. It could have been 50%. It could have been 100%. On this time, like in this event, the judges went 100%. So yeah, that was it. Team Germany, again, they won the final round of the Freestyle of Nations in 2020, and they won 2021. So it looks like Germany's one of the harder countries to beat. And I'm going to put that down to the differences and the variety in the team. It's not just three champions riding together, but actually three very different guys. And in the end, I would say it was Matej Cezak who was probably the guy. Like, it should never have happened. Matej said, the night before, he was actually really happy just to come and just be a fill-in rider. So he does the training with everybody, we all hope that we don't need to have a backup rider there. But because Hannes pulled out, then that's why he was in. But Mate said, this will actually be really cool. I never get to watch freestyle motocross competitions anymore or shows. I'm generally just there riding. So he was really looking forward to it. And in the end, I would say it was him in those two wild cards that gave the win to Team Germany. So yeah, who would have thought? So in the end, it was 527 points for Team Germany, 456 for Spain, and very close behind Team France. I was a little bit surprised, but that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And what I do want to say at the end of all of this, it didn't really matter. I mean, it does matter because the guys are riding and they do want to win. But what I really was so impressed with was just how pumped everybody was to be back. Every rider was just stoked to get out of their homes, and almost most of the guys drove there because it was only in Switzerland, which borders actually Basel. Just to give you a geography lesson, Basel actually is on the corner of France and Germany, so that's where the rivalry was there. But also Team Spain was coming anyway, and so most of the guys drove, and just to get into the arena, even with all of the COVID protocols and whatever else, nobody cared. It was just like, let's run an event. Let's jump in there. And, as soon as the lights went out, the crowd just went crazy. It was a full house. It's been so damn long. And I really hope for all of the riders. I'm speaking personally from my point of view, but it was just unreal to be in there and listen to the crowd again and have a reason to turn up and put these events on, and all of that work and Basel must have been postponed 4 times by the time we finally got it done. We've got other events that have been postponed 5 or 6 times, and some cancelled here and there. And it really has been an annoying and trying 18 months. But the moment that first bike was flying through the St. Jakobshalle, it was awesome. It was really good to see. Like I said, it could be a little bit of time before we do actually get to see the next event. But at least this has given everybody that renewed enthusiasm that, yep, events will slowly but surely be coming back. Every country is different with their COVID protocols. Travel is different. Everything is different, but at least we're getting closer. And we looked at X Games. We did the X Games review of every discipline. And I know there were some things that people liked, and certainly some things they didn't like about X Games, but at least it was on. Night of the Jumps in Basel, Switzerland. There was only one event this year. Normally there's between, I think, 8 and 15 events at Night of the Jumps. It was only one event, but at least it was on. And that's kind of where we're getting to. It's like, as long as we're on this upward trajectory and guys are starting to pick up more shows. I know the Spanish guys have a few more shows coming along. I know the Germans, they were picking up a few shows as well leading into this one. But also looking around the world, I'm watching the American riders. They're back and, well, it almost didn't stop in America. They've been doing shows, which is really good. Nitro Circus, they are on the road. The Nitro USA Tour has been going off for the last few months now, which is awesome. Freestyle Kings, they managed to get one tour off in New South Wales. Unfortunately, the Queensland tour was cancelled, but I'm sure if I think I know Josh Hanna and the team at Freestyle Kings, I'm sure they will be back anytime soon as well. But it just goes for everybody all around the world. It's all about to kick off again soon. So hopefully 2021, we can just finish this off and hope that 2022 will be the start of, a new chapter in freestyle motocross. Let's see. Anyway, I do want to say a huge thank you again to the team at Rothaus. Thank you so much for putting me up and doing the brewery tour with me. If you ever want to do it, just jump on their website. It's rothaus.de. And also a huge shout out to Motorex. It was awesome to finally get down there, see the factory, and actually I checked out the KTM crossbow. I've only seen it in pictures, but it was awesome to check out the KTM car. The next step is I want to drive it. So I want to say a huge thanks to everybody at Night of the Jumps, all the riders, the fans, the catering, like I said before, the crew, everybody, anybody that's involved with any event. Thank you for sticking it out. This is the long haul, no work for a long time, but it's awesome to see everybody just sticking in there, and things are about to get better. Thank you very much for tuning in. And just remember, we've got a few extra pieces here from Mark Pinyol, and I think Lucas Huppert might have even sent a message through, and I'll put that in now. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
To be in Switzerland was pretty good and easy for me because I had not the rush or the problem to cross the borders, and with that situation that is nowadays, that could be extra pressure if something goes wrong. So because I was already in the country, that was pretty easy to me to move to Basel and be part actually of the Freestyle of Nations. And also was super good for because Motorex and another sponsorships that I got, MX Academy, they are from Switzerland because right now I'm based here. So it was an extra motivation for sure because finally I could show in the country that my the new sponsors are a good show, that we are doing finally again a good show. So was special for me because it was Night of the Jams also, but to do it in Switzerland for first time after this long time was also an extra point. To have Michael and Edgar, that for me both are already legends, I think, in our esport, was an extra pressure because it's like, okay, dude, look the guys that are next to me, we have to do it good. But also it's like, hey, but I'm with that guys, so at some point I was also proud of myself, of my work, I guess, to be part, of it with them. So to write a show with Edgar, it's always special. He gave also like a good motivation to us, and yeah, it's special because I write my first shows also with him, so will be always special to me. And Michael, it's always, well, right now still who puts the good level there in the show. So I had to be also on point.
Yes, to be the first after that stop was in one side like, okay, good, I will finish fast. But in the other is like, oh, dude, I open again a night of the jams. And yeah, when I opened it at my first world jam in Jerez was not that good, the first jam. But well, I think I grow up a little bit. And yeah, I was super nervous. I have to say that I was super nervous, but I think I wrote good. I decided to step side some trick that I was not feeling 100% confident. And yeah, I feel good, and that I love it. About Maxim, yeah, it's a problem that the crash that he had on practice, because I was really excited to see him back on the competition, because I think he was super excited. But the setup there for the flares was not easy in the mobile, and yeah, and luckily we could not see the 100% potential of him. And Matek, I have to say that he surprised me a lot. He rode super safe and good. Best whip, well, was amazing actually. And I liked how he did his round. So it surprised me. It surprised me. It surprised me a lot. So I'm happy that he is back also in that level. I have to say that was a surprise for me that Matek win. I mean, before when I see his whips also were amazing, but yeah, finally was like that, and we have to accept it. And he rode super good. I had a problem because right after my round, my bike was super hot, and yeah, right after the first round was best whip, and I was leaking a lot of oil there on the before going. Sorry, water. And Mini came to me and he said, "Hey, be careful because look your bike." And actually, it was true. I was leaking too much water, so I said, I decided to don't make that big two downs, like, to keep the throttle that much because I didn't know how much water was inside my bike actually. So that's and also in my mind was like, we have Edgar, so anyway he will pass. So but maybe that was a mistake from my part. And yeah, Edgar also didn't win, so we lost a few points there that I think for us were crucial, and for the competition. But anyway, Matek rode super good, and I think he also deserved that win. Yeah, the synchro were not that good. Actually, I start and I didn't see Michael actually coming. I slowed down a little bit, and then he was there, and I missed a little bit the flick Cordova. And yeah, then Michael was not that close to me, and yeah, we were not that really in synchro. And actually, in practice, we did it pretty good, but there in competition, maybe we just take the pressure a little bit out. We were not focused, and yeah, we did not that good synchro contest as we are able to do. For example, in Berlin was pretty good last time. But yeah, here, well, that mistakes can happen. I prefer that a crash, that's for sure. But we need to improve the synchro for sure. was it was amazing. I just can say that it was amazing to be back. Of course, was not like in Berlin, because in Berlin I was super ready to go super big at that time before COVID hit all us. But yeah, to be back was amazing. I have to say that I was super, super, super nervous, but I rode, I think, pretty good in my side, and I could still pull some surfer takeoff and in a mobile, so that was also amazing. I have to say that after the day after, I was so destroyed because yeah, we lost the rhythm to jump that much. Yeah, my back, my low back was painful for 3 days, and I was keep riding, here for the show, and it's like, oh, I need to stop. But anyway, it's worth it. I really hope that I can that it keeps going, Night of the Jams, Freestyle of Nations, and all these kind of competitions, because I felt like home again. All the riders, I think that we did an amazing job. Everybody rode kind of safe inside the limits, but super good. So the vibe were amazing. the motivation was super high, and we could feel it in the backstage, and everybody had a smile on the on their face, you know. And that was a long time ago that I felt and I saw that. So yeah, just thanks to everybody who was there to to make it happen, because that was super helpful for all of us, and we really hope that it keeps going.
So, what can I say about the Night of the Jumps in Basel? For me, it was the first Night of the Jump show I've done, and it was super sick. Like, really feeling like a proper rock star standing in the middle of the stadium and having the crowd all around us. The noise they're doing is motivating us. It was so sick. Also, seeing freestyle motocross again. I think the last time I saw it was in 2018 or something. And now I realized again that they are freaking maniacs. And those jumps are just twice as tall as ours, twice as long. And yeah, it was really impressive. Impressive. Also seeing the double backflip for the first time live for me from Luke Ockerman was really impressive. I liked the format actually. It was something new, because normally you have just runs and that's it, and the best run wins. And now it's like the nation thing, which was pretty sick in my opinion. Um, yeah, I had a good time. The mountain bike riders were super cool guys. The FMX riders too, I think, but I didn't hang out too much with them, so I don't know. But they seemed like legit guys. Sadly, I missed the party. I would love to go party with you guys. And yeah, it was a hell of a show. And I think it's also super cool that now mountain bike is a bit more going into the shows, because we are, I don't know, we can do more tricks with our bikes with like tail whips and bar spins and rotations, which is not really possible on the motocross. But the jumps are way smaller, so I feel like, yeah, it's a good mixture, you know. There's the crazy big sand guys on the motocross, and us with some crazy rotations. So yeah, it was hell of a show, and I hope I can be a part of a new show of the next ones. And yeah, if you've never been to one and it's in your town, you should definitely check it out. It's worth it. Peace.